So, among people I don't know about the people you know, all of us are talking about what we are in the middle of. Or if we're not talking about it, we're feeling it. And we're talking about what to call it and what it means for us and those we love and those most vulnerable. On hiking trails, in coffee shops, on the phone with each other, we are talking about this. Maybe you are too. Maybe you are feeling dread or fear or confusion. How could this be happening? Maybe there is trauma in this sanctuary today, or as I'm hearing a lot right now, exhaustion, tiredness. Or you have stopped looking at the news, right? We are in a time of radical uncertainty and fear. For quite a while now, my own personal vow is to help in whatever way I can when the storm that seems to be on the way breaks over our heads. And frankly, this seems to be that storm. So, speaking of storms, I wanted to share some words from the late Vietnamese Buddhist monk, teacher, and peace activist who also developed that beautiful song that we sang with the children earlier, Thich Nhat Hanh. And these words have been important to me for a long time. He was a peace activist in Vietnam during the Vietnam War, and then he was in exile for a lot of his life, and a lot of his work was also around helping the Vietnamese refugees. And this is something that he wrote a long time ago. When the crowded Vietnamese refugee boats met with storms or pirates, if everyone panicked, all would be lost. But if even one person on the boat remained calm and centered, it was enough. It showed the way for everyone to survive. I don't think this is a parable. I think he's actually describing what happened on those boats. So, here's the question. How do we live in this storm, maybe with a few pirates around us, engaged, brave, and like that person on the boat that helped everyone to survive? This is not about turning away, but about each of us building our own capacity, both for societal challenges and for the challenges in our own communities, because this storm will be everywhere. Our own lives, our own personal hurricanes. And watching you all come up, lighting candles this morning, I had tears in my eyes just knowing how much each person is carrying. Might have nothing to do with what's happening nationally, but you are each carrying a weight. So today, I want to offer some possible ways, very simple ways, that really come from both my life as a UU minister and as a Zen Buddhist teacher. And although they are informed by my Buddhist training, you do not have to be a Buddhist to engage in them. So many centuries ago, in China, a Zen student asked his teacher, "What is the fundamental teaching?" And a teacher replied, "An appropriate response." What is the appropriate response right now in these strange and scary times? I think we've all gotten tired of the word unprecedented, but you know what I mean. I can't tell you. That's the thing. It's for you to find out what is your appropriate response. But I don't think it's turning away or tuning out with the latest Netflix series, nor do I think it is drowning in fear or anger or despair. I'm pretty sure that at times like these, spiritual practices are absolutely essential so that we can engage. And just to say, you being here this morning, this is a spiritual practice to be in community. And I'll be talking about that in a moment. So, one of the things that I've learned from my various roles is I don't even believe in giving advice because honestly, who listens to advice anyway? Have you noticed that? You offer it to your friends and family. But today I'm going to break my own rule and offer some advice, which are 5 spiritual practices for tough times. You might have noticed in your order of service that I have also shared with you 5 other practices as well. But 10 practices are too many for one sermon. So we're just going to focus on a few of them. And what I suggest is that you take that home with you. You put it up somewhere and you circle the ones that really speak to you. Because even if you only practice one of these, I think it will help. I really do. Or maybe none of these speak to you and consider what is a spiritual practice for you and take that one on. The 5 spiritual practices that I want to share this morning are pausing, appreciating, not knowing, I'll say more about that, staying together, and feeling your feet, with a little bonus practice at the end. So first, and most importantly, and we have been doing this all the way through this service, find ways to pause. Every time I say that, I kind of think of little cat paws, but P-A-U-S-E, pause, slow down, and feed your spirit. Many of us are moving so fast and so frantically, either in an attempt to survive economically, this is true for many people, or to address the wrongs around us, if we're activist types, that spiritual practices become a kind of afterthought, or maybe even an embarrassment. The more we panic, the more it will seem like we simply don't have time for spiritual practices, whatever that is. Please don't think of them as an afterthought. Think of them, whatever they are or could be for you, as a foundation, as something as essential in these times as drinking water. Maybe some of you, and we might be feeling this all the more as the months go on, feel like you're running a marathon. Okay, I'll admit it. I have never run a marathon, but I have talked to people who run marathons. So who here has run a marathon? Do we have anybody? Oh, all right, awesome. That rest breaks are essential, right? You need to be sure to get enough water and to pace yourself. Same with mountaineering, which I have done. And when you get up at high elevations, you might not know this, but you're actually resting with each step because there's not enough oxygen and you must rest. So I'm convinced that there is someone out there, maybe a few someones out there, who are trying to get us to never rest, never stop watching TV or surfing the net or doom scrolling, so that we won't stop and think for ourselves about what's happening and how we want to respond. Sometimes those of us who are activists and socially engaged feel that we can't rest, that the problems are so dire that we need to be doing whatever we can 24/7. Oh my God, I didn't call my senator today. I've got to do it. For you and for anyone who overworks in any way, I want to offer these very provocative words from the late Trappist monk and writer Thomas Merton, written back in the 60s. There is a pervasive form of contemporary violence to which the idealist, I think we're probably mostly idealists in this space, most easily succumbs: activism and overwork. The rush and pressure of modern life are a form, perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence. To allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone in everything, is to succumb to violence. It kills the root of inner wisdom, which makes work fruitful. I remind myself of this quote frequently because I tend in these directions as both an idealist and an activist, and it's very important. So I heard that there's actually this wonderful online thing about just coming with like a blanket and resting. And this is based on the work of the Black activist and Bishop of Nap Ministry, Tricia Hersey. And this is her fundamental teaching. Consider rest a radical act. Walk in the woods. Cuddle with your loved one or your dog or your cat. Drink a cup of tea or coffee. Go on retreat. Come to church on Sunday. Take just a moment to breathe with awareness and know that you are not turning away from the troubles of the world when you do this. You are strengthening yourself for the journey and the struggle. It's said that Gandhi used to meditate for an hour every morning with his followers. But one day there was a huge political action, and his leaders came to him and said, well, we have so much to do today. I think this was the Salt March, actually. We have so much to do today. We're going to skip the meditation today, right? And he said, no, today we're going to meditate for 2 hours. I think that kind of tells us, it's not extra. And maybe you're saying to yourself, I can't meditate. That's just not my thing. And certainly not for 2 hours. I'm here to tell you that there is such a thing as homeopathic meditation. Even a moment of presence goes a long, long way. Even a breath can be a moment of Sabbath and peace. So this is my first piece of advice. Don't worry, the rest won't be as long. But this is the most important one, I think. Find ways to slow down and be present, whatever you call it. Your adrenal glands will thank you, even if no one else does. And I have a feeling some other people in your life will thank you too. Advice number 2, appreciating. The harder and uglier things get, the more frightening, the more important this simple practice becomes. Yes, I'm telling you right now from this pulpit, you have some right to some happiness, even when things are falling apart. So I'm going to be talking about gratitude here, and I know I can almost hear the groans in the room because it's become so cliche, keep a gratitude journal. Yeah, right. But gratitude has been shown scientifically to increase baseline happiness, reduce pain and depression, lower stress, and improve sleep. If we had a drug that did all this, it would be a runaway bestseller, right? And there are 1,000 ways of practicing gratitude. You do not need to keep a gratitude journal if that's not your thing. 2, as Rumi said, kneel and kiss the ground. But like most practices, it does not need to be elaborate. And 2 of the easiest practices for gratitude are savoring and awe. So savoring is to fully experience small pleasures and comforts, like your morning coffee, or how it feels to get into bed after a long day. to just let yourself have a moment to savor those things. And awe is our response to something vast or amazing, something seen, heard, or witnessed. It could be the night sky full of stars, but it can also be witnessing kindness or greatness or courage. One of my 10 suggestions is to read or watch or listen to inspiring things, and especially people doing courageous things. And there's a lot of stories out there right now of that. That is encouraging awe in yourself. Advice number 3, and this might seem very strange to a bunch of generally well-educated Unitarian Universalists, but is at the heart of Zen practice and incredibly helpful in tough times. Practice not knowing. What do I mean by that? Sounds pretty weird, huh? We are so sure we know what's going to happen. And people online and in the news seem really to know too and are very free to tell us about it 24/7. Our thoughts about the world and where it's going can literally drive us crazy. But they are just thoughts. And when we realize that, no one knows, not even the greatest of pundits knows, we can act with greater inner peace. Thich Nhat Hanh used to tell his students to ask themselves always, whenever they had a thought come up, am I sure? Am I sure about that? For instance, perhaps like you, I am sometimes filled with dread about our collective future. But the reality is that I don't know the future, and no one does. And there's some wonderful books out there that inspire me, and I'll just mention a couple of them to you if you haven't heard of them. One is called The Black Swan: The Impact of the Highly Improbable. And it's about how most of the things that have ever happened in human history, and even little things like who becomes a great star in Hollywood and who doesn't, have happened not because they were predicted, but because of some little surprising thing that appeared. And so we can find books that can help us to kind of let go of that idea that we know what's going to happen and we're sure it's going to be really bad. Because this doesn't actually help us. It doesn't help us in our lives right now. So I can ask myself, am I sure? And then still act for what I believe in without being certain of the outcome. That's what that whole active hope that the reading that we heard is saying too, right? We may not have anyone come save us, but we can always act from our own deep knowing and joy. Fourth, remember to stay together. Remember that you are not alone. What brought me to UU ministry was witnessing and being a beneficiary of the tremendous care and love, even for strangers, that can be expressed in a UU congregation. What actually brought me, so although I'm actually multiple generations Unitarian, and my mother was a Unitarian, I drifted away into mostly doing Buddhist practice. But at a really difficult point in my life, I stumbled into a congregation in a new city, sad and unwell, and I was embraced almost before they knew my name. So when you're kind to a stranger that walks through your doors, you don't know where it may go. They may end up being the minister speaking to you years later, right? And come to think of it, in that moment, in that little congregation in Flagstaff, Arizona, I experienced awe as well. There is just huge power and encouragement that comes from showing up for each other. Acting for the world, standing in a picket line, or marching for justice, not alone, but together. This is one of the reasons that I say that progressive faith communities are going to matter all the more right now, despite what the pundits say. We need each other. We can't do this alone. I want to share a poem that's been important to me since my teen years, written by the beat poet Gary Snyder in 1959. He's also one of the people who inspired me to learn more about Zen Buddhism. It's called For the Children. The rising hills, the slopes of statistics lie before us, the steep climb of everything going up, up, as we all go down. In the next century, or the one beyond that, they say, are valleys, pastures. We can meet there in peace if we make it. To climb these coming crests, one word to you and your children. Stay together. Learn the flowers. Go light. So, final piece of advice, number 5. Pay attention to your feet. Feel them right now underneath you there. See how they're there below you, in contact with the floor. Think about how far they've carried you through your lifetime. Feel how they're connected to the earth. We spend so much time up here in our heads. Meanwhile, there are our humble feet supporting us. To feel your feet is to feel your foundation, to quite literally ground yourself. Whether you're standing in a grocery line, having an argument with your partner, or facing a line of oncoming police at a demonstration, feeling your feet will bring you into your body and in contact with the earth, which is always there to support you and which receives us all in the end. Okay, I promised there was a little bonus at the end, and this is on a lighter note. Bonus advice from the great satirist Kurt Vonnegut. His last words of advice to an audience, who knows if anybody listened, in 2007. And how should we behave during this apocalypse? We should be unusually kind to one another, certainly. But we should also stop being so serious. Jokes help a lot. And get a dog if you don't already have one. So if even one of these practices spoke to you today, or one of those 10, I invite you to bring it more fully into your life. And just to review, these are the 5 practices. Pause, appreciate, practice not knowing, stay together, feel your feet, and don't forget to laugh now and again. Thank you.